You got this and you got that, and you gonna murder this one and murder that one. Talking all that bullshit. I'm gonna put it to you like this, yo.
This is for the nerds, this is for the brainiacs, this what we deserve. Go ahead and play it back, you ain't gonna touch me, you not gonna do nothing, you are not above me. I bet you wish you was me, I know that I know.
What is poppin', everybody? And welcome back to another special episode of the Only Friends podcast, where, you know, it's me and my only friends, which includes, but it's not limited to, Guapito. What's Papito?
I was starting to feel left out.
What are you doing, buddy? What do you mean?
2 months.
2 months?
I haven't made a single dollar playing poker in 2 months.
Holy shit, what's going on?
I think I just suck now.
He's in the muck.
Or maybe
I was gonna say, so you're in the muck?
Maybe I've always sucked, and then just, you know, everyone is starting to not suck as much as me.
Oh no.
I don't think that's the case. I mean, we all go through some downswings.
Wait, if
it
you're
happens.
Hold on, if you're getting that wrecked, why don't we have like a long submission of in the mucks?
I'm not getting wrecked. I'm just not making money.
Aren't you just a crypto bro now?
I'm trying to be.
Good day for the crypto world yesterday.
Yeah, I was multi-tabling at the office today.
Where were you?
Yeah, I was just looking at all the different like altcoins that I'm in and just like, drawing all these like lines of like, oh yeah, that looks like a double bottom here. I have no idea what I'm talking about.
Retail's back, Burke. Retail's back.
You and the rest of the crypto army, buddy. I gotta tell you, these guys opened a fucking Finance for Dummies books, and all of a sudden, they're out here just like conquering the world. It's easy to. It's hard to make a mistake in a bull run.
Right, exactly.
You know?
Just throw a dart at a ticker, and it's probably going to go up.
Selling is the only real error, which I have a little remorse over. Let me know if that login worked, Guapo.
Will you come back flying in if we see a nice correction, a 30% correction?
Well, yes. Look, I'll always be a buyer. That's not a question. It's more so a liquidity thing. Like the bull run,
right? Of course,
it just couldn't have come. It both couldn't have come at a better or worse time,
right.
In the sense that it's a fantastic time for poker players to be rich because we have a lot of end of year action, and also this is when a lot of the recreationals show up for their tax dump, which is
no, that's not till next year, right?
No. Everybody comes at the end of the year and they're like, I made too much goddamn money, so I'm gonna go gamble in Vegas.
Oh, gotcha.
And so like December's always a nice.
I thought you meant. Never mind. Go ahead.
Sure. December's always a really fun month to be a professional. So that's all great. Like, what better time for everybody to be fucking rich?
Right.
What is shitty is that because all of this action is happening and the stakes are all rising and everything, I had to be way more liquid. So I did the responsible thing and sold some coins at 70, some a little bit more at 80. We're holding like 20% of our bag right now.
Okay. Well, you know, you'll get an opportunity, I think, to come back in. Maybe not at 70, but I think 80, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe not. Maybe this thing pumps to like 130, then it just dips to 100. I don't know.
It does make me feel pretty confident. This is like where the remorse comes in, is that I feel pretty confidently, and this is born out of nothing except
of course
speculation, but
that's all we're doing here.
I do feel pretty confident
Dubious
that like
best.
The floor for Bitcoin now is pretty safe. You know what I mean? Like,
as in what?
As in zero's no longer an option.
Zero is almost no longer an option in case.
Like way too many BlackRocks of the world own.
Right. Yeah. Once the institutions came in, zero is probably almost a foregone conclusion that's not going to happen.
Right. And like zero-esque.
Yeah.
You know, like
we're not going to get 15K Bitcoin anymore.
Yeah.
Right. 10K Bitcoin. Those days are gone. If you'd be lucky to get 40 or 30.
I was my richest when Bitcoin was at those. Like I had well into the 7 figures of Bitcoin.
Oh man.
When it was like 15, 20K.
Yeah.
Which is so crazy to think about.
Wow.
Because it's like, well, just quit your day job, bro.
Yeah.
Just quit
you
everything.
You had like 50 coins at like 20K.
A little bit less.
Yeah. That would be
between that and ETH, I had well into the 7 figures, but Yeah, I had like hundreds of ETH at some point, but I lost faith in that a long time ago.
Dude, he's coming back.
Yeah, it always is coming back.
It's funny
always
because
coming
everyone
back.
says this, but like if you look at every cycle, it literally, not to go on a crypto rant, but like it literally, like this is exactly what it does every cycle. It like bleeds back to Bitcoin and just loses to it until like the end of the year, of the election year, and then doesn't hit its all-time high until the post-halving year, which would be next year. So it does it every time.
Well,
I'm not saying it's going to do it this time, but like it's doing what it always does. So
Does it every
don't
time
panic,
till it
ETH
doesn't.
holders.
Tortoise, thanks to you, I've made more money in the last 3 weeks instead of playing poker in the last 12 months. So
There you go, man. See how much easier. And you didn't even have to think. You just have to click buy. So much easier.
Whoa.
It's easy till it's not.
Well, this genius found his way into fucking XRP.
He did.
He was
never- yeah.
He on-ramped right.
Honestly, like that's
I
the thing.
wasn't
Like,
even before that.
there's two camps that made a lot of money off of XRP. The really sharp people and the retail people who are just getting in or just coming back. And then all the people, all the mid curvers in the middle like myself are like, I'm not buying that shit.
Yeah, but the difference is the end of this is that the really sharp people use the really retail people as
As the exit liquidity, of course.
Yeah.
Yes, that's when Guapo was like, if it dips to like $2, I might buy some more. Like, don't do that. Don't do that. You don't want to be that guy.
What are you gonna do, man?
What are you gonna do, man?
What are you gonna do? We lost our confidence.
That's okay.
Get it back.
No, it's dead.
No, I know. We'll get it back.
All right, hey.
Listen, the man knows what he's talking about. Listen, this guy is out
faded to
there.
black.
This guy's out there buying XRP, getting confidence monitors back. He's good. He's the man. I'm telling you right now.
I believe you.
Yeah.
Everything's gonna be okay when Guapo's around.
No, this is why I'm mad
You
because
leave it on me or leave it on you?
no, because he goes, we'll get it back.
Yes.
Knowing that it was the cord, and it's like Conrad's one fucking job, and he did it instead himself. Like one time, let Conrad be useful.
Okay.
Yo, relax.
It's back.
Why relax? 3 times
I have the best intro in any podcast in the world. Let me be fucking useful. I'm the most useful person around this.
3 times
motherfucker.
I watched you get up and play with the TV when it didn't need to be played with, and then the one goddamn time it all goes to black, Guapo's over here running around like a chicken with his head cut off. One job, bro.
That wasn't my job.
Oh, 2 jobs.
3 jobs.
Let's get it popping.
That's a lot
Correct
of
the
jobs.
TV screen when
That's
it
a
goes
lot of
black.
jobs. You have no
Also,
idea.
I've lost my seed phrase twice already in the office.
Where?
Wait, why do you even look for it more than once?
Hold
Like,
on.
why would you ever even look for it
What?
after like?
What are you? Why?
I
Why is it
wrote
just in the office?
I wrote it down on a piece of paper, and
I'm
I'm
gonna
like,
go pick
okay,
it
I'm
up.
Oh my
definitely
God, are you a boomer?
I'm gonna go pick it up.
What do you do with your seed phrase?
I write it on the card that comes with it, tear it in
yeah.
half, and put it in 2 different lock or the safety deposit boxes.
There you go, yeah,
Tear it in
yeah.
half. Okay.
What the fuck are you doing? He has like a piece
Right.
of toilet paper that's getting fucking wiped in the office and going down the goddamn drain.
Right. That's the sharp way to do it, because if they get into one, they still have to get into the other one.
You know, it's really funny. Dan and I were like being custodians of each other's crypto at one point in time, and
What does that mean?
like I would give him either half or all of my seed phrase to hold just in case I died.
Oh.
You know, to be able to, which I should really revisit that and ensure that somebody in my family understands how crypto works.
Right.
But you know, he was like holding my seed phrase, and he gave me this old copy of Doyle Brunson's Super System 2, and in it was $1 that he used as a bookmarker, and on that $1 was his seed phrase. And like I was the custodian for this book, and like he told me, you know, like my seed phrase is in this book, just keep a hold of this book. I had so many copies of this book just laying around, and like years later he's like, do you still have that Super System 2? And I'm like, brother, I gotta tell you, I do, but I don't know that it's yours. And I certainly can't find this dollar bill with like random words written on it.
No.
He had his own seed phrase obviously as well,
Yeah,
so it wasn't like a huge issue, but there was a scare where like he thought he had lost his seed phrase and I was his backup plan.
No,
and I'm just like, dude, I've moved 3 times since you gave me that book. I'll look. But I can't. I might have spent that $1, man. I'm not gonna lie.
Right.
Times were tough, you know.
Yeah.
COVID was a hard period to get through. I needed that buck.
It's interesting on like how to keep your crypto, because it's like the safest way is to have a cold storage and have a seed phrase, but then you also have to be the most responsible.
Right.
Like you can keep it on an exchange where like you just let them have the responsibility, but then you have to worry about them becoming insolvent, like FTX.
Yeah.
You know, and then it's like, okay, well then you can buy the ETF, which maybe is the best, but then you have to pay a fee plus, like, you know, you don't actually own Bitcoin, so
yeah,
you got to figure out what's best for you.
You know what? Going back to Conrad having jobs, the third job that we should, you know, trust him with is outlining the show, letting the audience know what we're getting into. But I have to tell you, Waxman just fucking usurped you, man.
Wow.
He said, "You're out, I'm in." Put a tweet out yesterday, and it's basically the entire show in a nutshell.
Perfect.
Says, today in poker, Dylan Smith wins his first WPT. Caitlin drops new fire. Bitcoin hits 100K, and Pads finds Jesus.
Wow, that's strong.
It's fucking,
go.
that's it, team. That's what we're here to talk about.
That's strong.
And we're going to kick things off with Pads finding
He got
Jesus.
Bitcoin. He got the Bitcoin out of order, but that's okay.
God damn it. This is incredible. Between four of us, none of us know our Instagram
Remember our
login.
passwords. Yeah.
I have no idea what my
man.
password is.
It's just absolutely remarkable. I'm out of options. I don't really know what else.
You want me to just play it on my phone and
No,
let the
you
people look at
idiot.
it? No?
What is the matter with you?
I was just giving a fucking solution here, man. What's wrong with you? Maybe you don't like my solution, but I just had a solution for the people. And you want to just go off
Better
and
than
bitch.
nothing.
What the fuck's wrong with
It's
this
not
guy,
better
man?
than nothing. It's clearly not better than nothing.
I'm saying giving the idea is better than not giving the idea. I'm not
that's-
saying that
that's
his
where we
idea was
disagree.
better than nothing.
The idea was fucking
Great.
great.
The concept of an idea is better than nothing.
That-
Yeah, the concept of plans.
I would like you to workshop your idea a little bit better. What? Who are you fucking texting?
Huh?
You're busy on that phone over there.
No, I gotta get busy.
With who?
What do you mean?
With who? About what? What? Let us in.
Oh, nigga, I gotta make my schedule for the next 2 weeks. I was like, oh
And now,
shit.
now is the time.
Yes.
Now's the time. You know,
When he did
like-
his intro, he's done for the day. He
You know
might as
what I
well
mean?
use
Like,
his time
shit,
wisely.
Jesus Christ. Why isn't it put the camera? Get the camera off me. What the fuck's wrong with you?
We are trying to fill time until Guapo finds a way to log into goddamn Instagram.
Well, what do you want to talk about?
I don't know, but you need to be off your phone and
God
helping.
damn it, just find something.
There's some heavy lifting taking place
My
here.
God.
We can revisit yesterday's discussion a bit for WPT. Wanted to clarify a few things.
Okay.
So there were open contests where you did not have to use a CTA.
Mm-hmm.
The code Schwan or Ashley or whatever. I believe it was the pumpkin carving contest, the Make Phil Ivy laugh contest. There might have been a couple others that aren't jumping out at me right now. But anyway, like basically whenever the audience was being provoked to kind of take on a task, so to speak, that was a free-for-all for anybody, even if they had already signed up. So there were multiple opportunities to winning seats, even if you had already signed up with an influencer prior and missed your opportunity with their giveaways. Is it giveaways? Would it be raffles? Raffles maybe a better way. Raffles would probably be a better way to describe it. So yeah, the only caveat to that was actually Schwann's, which was unfortunate because that was the one that came to mind and the one that I read on air. But I also think that speaks to like what Guapo and I were talking about, where it felt like the messaging was like all over the place. Like I remember the CTA, right? The sign up using code X. So that's like this real success of the campaign, as far as I'm concerned, is that the CTA was what everybody remembers. The downside to that, unfortunately, is people who felt like, you know, when they signed up first, that they missed out on an opportunity to sign up later with someone like Conrad, who only had 6 signups and 5 seats, you know?
You dig?
That's nothing to be proud of, buddy.
What do you mean? Everybody that would have signed up with my name had Rampage, fucking did WPT or whatever before. I was like 2 weeks late. Or
What do you
week and a
mean?
half late.
What do you mean? I don't get it.
Huh?
What are you talking about?
Everybody that would ever sign up with code Conrad had already signed up. with
you're saying,
Brad or somebody.
You're saying that's why there weren't more people.
Yeah, of course. You know, Conrad had a couple hundred, no problem. Maybe a thou wow.
No, that's true. Yeah,
you know?
your audience is.
My shit's popping.
Yeah.
What you talking about? We in the streets, baby.
While we're talking about being in the streets, this is a pretty funny one. Keep trying, Guapo.
Oh
keep
my
trying.
God, we're going on.
I'm trying mine now.
Okay, well that's a pro.
That sounds bad.
I'm gonna keep sending you more passwords. Delete this chat when it's all said and done. Barry Carter put out a meme. This is a pretty funny one. So you guys heard about the Tuah girl, right?
Oh man, I saw this.
Very
you have a job
unfortunate.
over there.
Very unfortunate. Yeah, you keep trying to log in. Okay, we're filling time for your sake.
We're asking for fucking straws over here, man.
No. This is all very relevant. Did you hear about this, Lamanna?
Something about her with a meme coin and.
So she launched a meme coin.
Yeah.
It shot up to I think 500 million.
500
market cap, and then plummeted down to like 60 million.
Sounds like a standard meme coin.
Yeah, rugging everybody obviously, and she took a fucking bath on the internet.
Somebody
just got obliterated. She went live yesterday on Spaces, like trying to explain herself. CoffeeZilla, which if you're not familiar,
I know.
is,
I know.
Yeah, he basically digs into scandals and scams. He went after her pretty hard, and like not excusing this obviously. But
she just dumped on her audience. Is that what happened? Or dumped on her followers?
I think. I mean, like she pumped it, like basically just being an internet personality. Yeah. How it dumped, I don't exactly know how involved she was in the rug, but it kind of like doesn't matter.
This is like a tell all the time, though, right?
Yeah, of course. But the thing is that she's so naive. You know what I mean? She's just a 22-year-old internet star who said something in a man on the street interview and went viral.
Right.
So fucking Mark Cuban on her podcast.
Yeah, very easy to now like tear her apart.
Right.
Right. This also happened with the Walking Bets girl. I can't remember her name.
Taylor.
You know what I'm talking about? Taylor something. She does what she used to. I don't know if she's still with ESPN or not, but she would do Walking Bets. She's massive boobs and just
Barstool.
Whatever. She also launched a meme coin and was like pumping it, but she was doing it the old-fashioned pump and dump way, like in the Discords, let's go team, ride or die with Walking Bets. You know what I mean? Like really hammering the pump.
I think it's okay to pump it as long as you're not pumping it just to dump on.
She dumped.
Okay, yeah.
She was caught.
Right. If you're sitting there holding 50% of the coins and then you're pumping it and then it pumps and then you just dump on all your followers that are buying it. They're your exit liquidity.
My question is,
she dumped and then I think she bought again at the bottom.
Yeah.
Is it illegal to do what she did?
Well,
might be.
Eventually it will be. That's what the SEC like regulates over is this not happening in traditional markets, but like right now crypto's just fucking wild west, man.
Okay.
Imagine though, like retroactively they come back and come after like some 14-year-old just ends up in pound me prison because he's fucking running a pump and dump scandal.
Not with Trump's SEC. Anything goes, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that might be true. So yeah, Tuah girl, she got fucked on. But I sent you this ass like Guapo. Barry Carter, being the meme lord that he is, just jumps in. By the way, like who's making a stronger case for Twitter personality of the year than Barry Carter? He's just like really putting in the volume,
right?
Picking right up where Jamie left off. He goes, "Has anybody checked on Rampage?" I'm gonna talk exit liquidity.
That's good.
He might be the only one who finds a way to lose in this fucking bull market.
Rampage just,
he's out here.
He puts out like a lot of losses, but I'm sure like behind closed doors, he's cooking somehow, some way.
Yeah, he's fucking cooking.
Times.
He's the goddamn house.
No,
of course he's cooking.
Beyond that, with like whatever. I'm sure he's done pretty smart things or some smart things.
Well, he should goddamn advertise those. You don't just want to be the greater fool in everybody's eyes forever and ever and ever. It'd be nice to actually feel like you're sharp on something.
I mean, I'm pretty sure he is. He has to fucking be.
All right, so let's get to this Pads finds Jesus. I believe we have his Instagram story finally available. We're gonna click into this one. So yeah, let's roll that with.
Like it's filed here. I'm like, can you just call them just in
case
maybe they didn't do it somehow or forgot? And he's like, no, like it's been destroyed. It's on the file. I have the craziest story of my life. I mean, it sounds so unbelievable, like something from a movie that I need to get someone to verify it. So I realize I had my passport for Results World for the NAPT. So I come home, I'm watching the Newcastle game, I go home, I get showered, I'm like, I'm going to take a walk down to Results World, check out there, it's probably not there, but why not? Something inside of me just says, let's get an Uber instead. I never take Ubers, I walk all day, every day, on the strip, up and down, I never take an Uber. I take an Uber for whatever reason. Get to Results World, I go to security, I'm like, hey, I tell them the story that I think I've lost my passport. They say, oh, what's your name? They search, it says Patrick Landon. They say, oh yeah, we have it. Then he scrolls down the page and he says, oh, it's been destroyed. And I'm like, oh my God, it's not the worst news because at least the police and the embassy will give me a new passport because I'll have proof that I didn't like sell it or whatever dodgy things happening, that they basically will show that they had it and they destroyed it. So the guy's like, I'm really sorry, but we've destroyed the passport, like it's filed here. I'm like, can you just call them just in case maybe they didn't do it somehow or forgot? And he's like, no, like it's been destroyed, it's on the file. And I was like, what date did it get destroyed? I don't know why I'm asking this question. I'm like, what date did it get destroyed? He's like, oh, it says like an hour ago. I'm like, an hour ago? It's so weird. I lost my passport here like a month ago. What is the odds that it's going to be an hour ago that it get destroyed, you know? So like, look, I'll call them. So he calls them, no answer. Calls them, no answer. And calls them again, someone answers, like, oh, sorry, the guy's not here. He's destroying all the passports. Today's the day they go and destroy all the passports for whatever reason. So this guy has like 25 passports that have been lost, and once a month they destroy them all because of like identity theft or whatever. I'm like, please, can we get someone to go there? So we pay a guy to go run to the office. It's on the other side of Results, with like a mile away. He goes there, and literally, he says when he gets there, the guy has my passport in front of the shredder, about to shred it, and he stops him. Like, can you fucking believe it? So he opens the door, the guy's like about to shred it, whatever. He's like, oh, hey, John, or whatever his name is. He's like, this guy, Patrick. He's like, Patrick? He's like, yeah. And he's like, oh, I have the passport here. He's literally got it in front of the shredder. Now I have it. It's absolutely unbelievable. Like, I genuinely... last night I sent the text, I'm going to show you it here, about someone was going to drive me to LA to fix it. And I was like, if God can somehow get me this passport tomorrow, I'm going to be a believer. And... I mean, I need to get this guy. I mean, it sounds so unbelievable, like something from a movie. I promise you, I swear my mum's life, this is everything. It's absolutely incredible. I'm so happy. We are cooking on some serious gas right now. Come on, the boy.
Good morning. It's a good day to have a good day. That I will say the text at the end, I don't know if you guys caught it, but it was a text exchange between Pads and one of his friends, and he basically said like, if there's like some way that I you know, the constant bartering with God, right? Where it's like, there's some way that I can get lucky enough to find this passport before the Bahamas starts. Like, I'm a believer. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you've ever heard this old joke.
It's so good.
I don't know if you ever heard this old joke, but I always find it to be ironic. I think it's from This Is Water. David Foster Wallace tells it, but there's I believe it's like an Eskimo stranded or something along those lines, or he's telling a story about a time that he was stranded and how he made a deal with God of like, if you just get me out of this one, like I'll be a believer for life. And just as he had made that deal, two people happen along who save him or whatever. And the guy looks to him and says, so you're a believer now? He goes, no, why would I be? Like, these people just happened along at the exact same time. Like, I was rescued or something along those lines, like totally disconnecting. Pads is kind of going the opposite direction here, where it's like, he's like and I do think that this is something about poker players that we're more aware of than anybody else. Like, the string of events that have to occur here, the probabilities of all of those things aligning, right? Where it's like, he could have just looked tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And it would have already been destroyed. He could have walked and cost himself an hour where it would have already been destroyed. You know what I mean? Like, the sequence of events, the butterfly effect that took place here in order for him to land on the exact iteration where he gets his passport back feels so divine almost.
There are no coincidences.
That's true.
I'm trying to figure out what is the reason behind just destroying someone's passport?
Because of identity theft.
Yeah.
So you,
but I mean, if like the casino has it, like you would think.
Yeah, but they're low-level employees. I mean, they could just take them and sell them on the black market. It's worth something, you know?
Probably worth a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's probably worth a decent chunk.
And they figure if it's, you know, a month or 2 months that they haven't come back for it, they're probably never coming back for it. So
exactly.
Right. Yeah. So it's, well, that part seems pretty unlucky because the way he described it, it sounds like they destroy them once a month, mm-hmm. which means that the closer to that date
That's
you lost
true,
your
too.
passport.
Yeah, if you lost your passport the day before they destroy them, then
Right.
they should hold it for at least a month and then destroy
And maybe they do.
Maybe they do.
Yeah. Which would make a little bit more sense, I guess. But
It seems more reasonable for sure.
Right.
pretty. Hey,
Wait, what are the puppies doing?
where the fuck are these dogs? Pip's not on her usual nap chair. What is going on here?
Her and Scott are getting into some shit.
That's true. I can't have friends, man. All right, so Bitcoin hit 100K. We talked about that. Pad's found God. What perfect time for that to happen as Bitcoin hits 100K and he's headed to the Bahamas to play some very big events. I wonder if we'll see him in this 500K Invitational. What other reason is there to go?
I don't know.
I mean, the 25K.
Did you see who Negreanu's?
Yeah, Feldman.
That's funny because I would have thought he would have invited you to be his partner.
Sure.
Feldman, right?
Feldman?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, actually, both
Ryan
of them,
Feldman
honestly.
is the person who invited Mr. Negreanu to play in the 500,000.
So, for what it's worth, I don't think that that's how a lot of these pairings work. Some of them work this way, but I think that they just like have a pool of VIPs and have a pool of pros that want to play
them together.
Like once there's a commitment from both sides, I think that they just pair people who don't have partners. Like a lot of these are partnerships where it's like, you know, there's some investment back and forth between the two. They're either swapping or buying each other, you know, whatever.
I thought you like had to get someone.
I think originally it was that way, but like I was talking to Blaise about his scenario. He's paired with Kulev. Am I pronouncing that right?
Kulev.
Oh yeah, I don't.
Kulev.
Kulev, yeah.
Alex Kulev, right?
Alex Kulev.
I think there's two V's in his name, but I could be wrong. Anyway.
Oh no, it's Alex Kulev. Sorry.
Okay,
yeah.
so Kulev, yeah. So they're paired together, and Blaise has no fucking idea who this kid is. so it's not like, you know, it's not like they had done prior business or had any
Right.
He's like, am I getting in good with this kid? Like, what's going? We're like, you are in a prime spot. Like, couldn't throw a dart at a board and hit a better bullseye than Alex.
I mean, speaking about this 500K, somebody just threw their hat in the ring, and he is the man. You know, he's a businessman. He's about his business.
Okay.
The man is the Pai Gow King.
Oh,
The Pai Gow King.
Tom's in the mix.
Tom has just asked Triton to be a VIP.
He has to be VIP. Has to be. I'm not even saying that as a slight.
Who are we
He
talking about
said,
here?
Tom,
Tom who?
he
There's so
won
many
the
Toms.
$6 million Pai Gow jackpot back last year.
Oh, okay.
He says, "Hello, Triton Poker. I'm a longtime poker community member, and I hit a Pai Gow jackpot last year for over $6 million. I would love an invite to the Triton Millions if there's still invites going out. Let's get it popping, Tom.
Yeah.
Get out there." Actually saw him yesterday.
I think that it would be very easy for him to negotiate the VIP side, especially because there are so many pros sitting on the sideline that want to play.
Yeah, I know you've been feeding, man, like behind the scenes.
Is it capped though? It's capped, right? Or not?
Not sure. Usually they are.
It was
but
32 eats, I thought.
maybe I don't
less?
think they're anywhere close to that
They're
from
at
the
22 right now.
Yeah. So if it's capped, I don't think they've hit it.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, I can't remember who I saw. Well, obviously, Mike O'Donnell.
Yeah.
This is becoming a funny meme of just like him sitting on the sidelines. And I wonder if it's because he just like hasn't been playing. Like, do you think that somehow he becomes less desirable to the VIP? It probably doesn't matter, right?
hasn't
Like
been
they don't
playing that
have to
much?
take a piece. I don't think he played much this year.
Okay.
I think he's like kind of taking a step back. He's just enjoying his riches quite a bit. You know, the American dollar goes a long way in Australia.
Does it really?
I think so, yeah. I
Really?
think it's like 1.25 to 1.
Huh.
At least, I'm dating myself, but that was like way back in 2018.
Okay.
Who knows what it is now? But we'll be back 2026.
I'm so excited to
Aussie
see
Millions
that.
sounds like it's going to be...
All you guys do is talk about that place.
Bro, Australia is fucking incredible.
Who is the Aussie Millions connected with?
Crowns Casino.
So that's just their own thing?
Yeah, there used to be... WSOP Europe used to rotate between Australia and Europe.
Okay.
But then that stopped happening, I don't know, 2016 maybe, 2017, something like that.
Okay.
And then Australia recently, post-COVID, has had like a bunch of issues with money laundering.
Gotcha.
Which had led to poker rooms not being open past like 11 p.m. so they couldn't really viably run events because like the days just weren't long enough. And then additionally, they couldn't really run high buy-in events because the scrutiny was so heavy on getting money into action that my understanding was that it was just like nearly impossible.
Okay.
And I'm basing this off of like a few higher stake Australian guys that I know that, you know, like they used to run a game with Chairman. I don't think it was at Crown. I think it was in Sydney.
Okay.
Maybe at Star.
Gotcha.
But like they just couldn't facilitate the game anymore because they'd cracked down so much on like money laundering stuff. And I think that probably had to do with, you know, lending chips at the table.
Makes
and
sense.
the typical high stakes private game shit. But even still, it sounded like trying to run a 25K was like nearly impossible.
Okay.
But Crown Casino put a tweet out the other day. They said, you know, sorry for the late announcement or whatever, but it looks like we're targeting 2026 for the Aussie Millions return. So hopefully like all that red tape is going to kind of go by the wayside. I do remember it being a bit of annoyance, like wiring over.
Okay.
Like not the wiring part, but the receiving of the wire.
Gotcha.
I just remember being at the cage for a very, very, very long time.
That could have been like 12 minutes and you'd be annoyed.
That's true. No, that's
that could have
true.
literally been like 12 minutes and a bad question.
Yeah.
It could have literally been 12 minutes and a bad question. That's it.
You're 100% right. That part is
That
accurate.
shit means nothing.
But I vaguely just remember like they give you like 25K plaques. I think I wired like 100K or 200K or something like that. And they give you like 25K plaques,
Okay.
which were fucking dope. They're so cool to look at. They're very not functional, but
Yeah.
they're really cool to look at. But then when I took that to buy in, I just remember like because they had a 25K high roller at the time, and I just remember like it being annoying. Like I don't remember if I had to get it broken down at the main cage or if there was some red tape that I had to go through, but it was look, they're just doing things above board. But we don't like that.
No.
It takes too much time, you know.
So we need crypto,
Exactly, Brian.
right?
I was just
That's a use case, right? You just instead of having a wire.
That's what most of WSOP Bahamas is.
They just accept crypto.
They use Lux and Pay.
Oh yeah, which is like you put your crypto into Lux and Pay, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's a middleman still, but it's at least it's a
but
middleman.
it's
that-
amazing.
way better than the bank being the middleman.
The only
Yeah,
reason
for
why I
sure.
was asking is because I just wanted to know who to reach out to who needed a podcast for the Aussie Millions.
That's
You know,
fair.
I had to get that out there before
Yeah.
we go on a fucking crypto rant about
Yeah.
where we're sending money.
No, it's not. To my understanding, it's not attached to a major tour. It's not like WPT or WSOP.
Okay.
It's specifically Crown Casino.
All right, Crown, I'll be hitting you up.
I think I do know this. This is for sure true. They love us in Australia.
Well, then we're good.
They do.
Well,
They
except for
love
that
us.
one guy.
Which one guy?
The one guy in your DMs. Isn't he from Australia?
I don't think so.
Somebody said that.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
No, they're big fans of us in the Aussies.
Nice.
I think they like the spewy style. You know, they're here, not like fucking Dave Bets Big.
No.
Or
Brad, yo.
Bob Bets Big.
Whoa,
Brad
whoa,
Bets
you're not
Big.
going over here
Brad
and
Bets
disrespect fucking the BBB. All right? Fucking Brad Bets Big. That's
Maybe
like goat.
maybe Aussie Matt comes out of retirement.
I think
Wow.
he's in retirement for very different reasons. All right, let's get to young Tice. Obviously, we didn't want to spoil it for the audience yesterday as we were an hour ahead and we had known that Landon had already died a very admirable death. Can't think of a better way to go out.
Oh,
really.
yeah. Real
I mean,
fucking
it's
great.
annoying. But like, you don't ever have to question it. You know, you don't lay in bed at night going, oh, could I have 4-bet folded the ace king 5-handed at a final table? Like,
Against
no.
Dylan.
Action clock.
Right.
Correct. Bet clock.
Against the eventual winner.
Decision clock.
We're going to run this one
action. Speaking of action,
without
Landon here with
sound.
ace king.
Let's just
Makes it five.
enjoy the moment.
Is anybody really curious what Pip is doing?
Makes it 2.2 million. And now Landon facing that 3-bet.
I wonder if the stacks are like awkward enough where Landon might just call here. I don't. I mean, I know the solver is always going to just put more bets in here, but like,
Is he a solver player?
he is indeed a solver player. Yeah, he's a great player, Landon. He's been learning a lot of poker stuff. He's really well informed, but I just don't see him getting away here. He does the click.
He does
and
raise. Makes it 3.8 million, not using one of those time chips.
Yep, and he's gonna call the all-in, I believe.
So you're not just re-raising here. If you're Dylan, you are moving all in.
Not necessarily, but I mean, Landon's hand looks really strong here, and I don't think Landon's the type of guy that's going to put in a 4-bet and fold, like with a strong hand.
All right, so he's used the 30-second time chip. Little strategic move there.
I'm really interested to see if like there's any chance Dylan just calls here, but like I think he's just going to shove, and then Landon should call. But whenever you're 5-betting at a WPT final table, like it's always a pretty serious hand, you know. Yeah.
And he does move all in.
Yeah,
And he does make the call,
Landon.
and he's not going to like what he sees. Aces versus ace-king. This is really tough for Landon Tice.
Yeah, and when you're such an aggressive player like Landon, you get to put all the chips in with the ace-king like profitably, like all the time. So when you run into aces, it's really unfortunate. There are some players that if they 4-bet and get shoved on, they can fold ace-king because of their perceived images. I don't know if they know that or not, but
Right. So Landon still has chips behind. He is 1.1 million behind. Dylan is the all-in player. But we're going to see what's going to happen. This could leave Landon very short stacked here. Flop is very good for Dylan with a 9-7 4 2 diamonds. He also has the ace of diamonds in his hand. That's not going to make a difference in this.
Landon needs 2 kings.
He needs running kings here. And it's 10 on the turn. And that's not going to be enough. Landon Tice loses this pot. Dylan.
So poor Landon was left with 3 big blinds after that. I actually thought watching it in real time that he was like on some live shit where he was 4-betting not all in to fold, where it's like, I know this guy's so tight that, you know, I'm just going to fold out his bluffs, win the pot here, and fold to a jam kind of thing. But then I talked to him afterwards, and he's like, nah, Dylan's fucking wild, man. He's like, he 5-bet folded versus, who's the chip leader? Matthew, I think, at the time. Coming into the final day, the young kid, the 23-year-old.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, he 5-bet folded king 5. Okay, I see him. You know what I mean?
Oh,
so it's
shit.
like, oh, okay. So like he was literally just inducing. Can't do anything about that. Right. Obviously, you're just going to die. He ended up having 3 blinds left. But man, this kid's such a fucking cockroach.
You can't kill him.
And to be fair, like as unlucky as he got in this particular hand, which is brutal. I mean, this is like a 90 big blind pot, I think, when it's all said and done. Like, you know, largely going to be the difference between finishing top. Actually, we should talk about that too. Like Matthew came in as the chip leader. Dylan nearly takes over the chip lead here. Wait, no, Dylan won it, right?
Dylan won it, yeah.
Oh, okay, never mind. Forget what I said. I was going to say then somehow somebody else won it, but now I realize
whoever's going to win that pot was probably going to win.
Going to have a pretty good opportunity to win it. Yeah. So he had 3 big blinds after this. Finds a way to get all in here with ace 9, gets snapped by Matthew's queen 10 suited, and just like flop dead. And I'm like, oh my God, like how does this happen?
What a river.
Just hits the running ace jack to survive, doubles through, and then finds the fucking ladder. Like this is the
that's the biggest part of it.
Yeah, this is the shit that goes, you know, unnoticed. Poor Francis, yeah, like nothing he can
absolutely
do.
Fucked.
He has like 20 bigs and queens. This is like so annoying, man. Like
that's so tilting.
This
dude.
is everything that I hate about tournaments. You know, it's like going back to the conversation that I had with Landon the day prior, where he kind of wanted to like sell a bit of his stack at ICM and lock up some profits and stuff like that. It was like, yeah, but I mean, like, you know, we play to win. You know, that's why you're backed and everything else. And he's like, oh, but it's so much variance. It's like, yeah, I understand. There's a lot of volatility and all this other stuff. And you just forget, like, you're not allowed to lose with queens 5 fucking handed. You know what I mean? Like he got it in with kings versus ace jack and somehow found a hold on like jack high board all spades where he has ace jack with the ace of spades. Somehow finds a hold with 2 kings there. And it's like, okay, like this is what's supposed to happen. Then you get queens in versus the chip leader who like could just be fucking around with somebody. Nope, he has the ace king right on the turn. Nice little fucking 90K boost to Landon's pocket. Get Francis out of here. And somehow he's like in there navigating with a real chance at this thing. So after this hand happens, where
so he got up to like 9 big blinds after that first double because he had
Correct.
4, right?
Yeah.
So he got up to like 9 big blinds.
Well, he had like 3 plus the big blind ante.
What was the average around the table? I actually didn't
Probably close to 30.
30,
I would think. So yeah, that king on the turn sent Francis to the rail, gave us a nice little boost. From there, Landon was then able to double again, where he got it in king jack versus deuces. Wins that flip again. Little king ball.
Sweat.
Right on. No sweat in my ass. Finds a little king ball on the river. For a big double up here. That got him up to, I want to say somewhere in the neighborhood of 16 bigs, which is like now we're back in real contention here, you know?
I just got to let you know something. When you pick up any face card on the turn, because the board came 10-6 deuce or something like that.
No deuce.
There was a 10.
10-7-4, whatever.
Yeah.
And then turn comes the 9 ball. When you pick that 9 ball up,
not gonna hit any paint or an 8, I think, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. 10-7-4, turn 9.
Yeah. When
he
you
now
pick
turns
that
double
up,
gutted.
you don't lose that hand.
I have the opposite experience. That's too many outs for me.
No, if you have it with the flush draw there, you're dead.
Right.
But like just the
double gutter with 2 overs.
Exactly.
Yeah,
like
sure,
you're good.
Sure. I get
it's golden.
Big double there. He's actually like in contention. He has a little over 3 million at this point. When he got it all in, to give you context, when he got it all in with the ace king, he had about 12.5 million, I think. So you know, we're like a quarter of the way back. And he steals a pot shortly thereafter, where it goes like cut off open, he 3-bets button with king 5 off, just fucking steals it. Let's go. We're in the mix. And then we look down at 2 beautiful 9s on the button off of 15. Like, hell yeah, man. This is our spot. We open and Florian just rips the small blind. I was talking to Landon about it afterwards. He's like, I literally only lose to pocket 10s in his jam range. Like he jams 8s or worse, right? Like he jams all the worst pairs.
All the like
doesn't jam jacks or better because he has to induce them, right? And then everything else is like unpaired. It's like the ace jacks, king queens. Like at least we're flipping in this particular spot. It's like I lose to one hand and one hand only where I'm dominated, and it's exactly 10s. So and I dominate like half of his jamming range here.
God, he just has, like you said, he has 7s and 8s and 6s so many times there. And it's just like, what a great spot to be in. Instead, you're in the exact opposite spot.
Yeah, so it's kind of funny to see like the way that tournaments play out from the perspective of luck, right? Because he gets super unlucky in 2 cooler spots: ace king versus aces, 9s versus 10s, in spots where like both of these players should have other hands, like they're wider than what they showed up with. But we get super fortunate in Francis losing a big flip to ladder up. So it's like you got very lucky to make more money, but very unlucky not to make more money than that.
See, it all evens out. And then
it doesn't even out. It doesn't even out at all.
Does.
Like just not getting dealt ace king there probably gets Landon 3rd or better.
Right.
At least a high frequency.
Which would also put him in the player of the year top 3.
It would have given him greater. It would have put him in the top 3 depending on who he finished over.
Yeah,
but assuming he finishes over Florian, he would have surpassed Afrat and probably even surpassed Dylan, who went on to win this, because Dylan's only beating him by 125 points right now.
Oh, so if Landon would have won the tournament,
he was a lock for.
It's a wrap.
Yeah, it's a wrap. Had he won it, he for sure would have
won the player of the year. You're saying?
Well, he would have been in first, I believe, going into the finals. What was the prize pool for this? It was $660K to first, so prize pool was probably $5 million. No, a little bit less. $3.5 million.
There was 1,400 runners.
Okay, so like 4.5 ish, give or take. So $4 to $6 million. Yeah. So first place was worth 1,300 points. Where did he get? Fourth or fifth?
He got fourth.
Fourth place was worth 650. So yeah, he would have gotten an extra 650 points had he won this, which would have propelled him over 2,300. So he would have had 2,350.
And Dylan, who's in front of him, would have got less, obviously.
Correct. Yeah. But yeah, even just laddering one spot here would have gotten him an additional 100 points. So he would have surpassed Afrat, and he would have been 25 points behind Dylan, who went on to win this. But
still has a shot, though.
No matter, I was going to say, yes. No matter what, he does still have a crack at this. So to give you guys a little bit of insight, 3 places are paid for the final standings. So actually, him not finishing one place higher is kind of brutal. Like, that might be a 5K bad beat.
Yeah, it's 15, right?
No, it's 15. Oh, okay. It's 15K passport to the winner, 10K to second place, and 5K to third.
Gotcha.
These are all future WPT buy-ins. That's what we're playing for here.
Sure.
But yeah, just finishing one place higher would have put him in that pole position, or not pole position, the podium position of being in the top 3. He would have been above Afrat. As it stands, though, he is a final table away from overtaking the lead here. So what did we say he needed to get? Fifth or better at the championship. But he has a couple other opportunities. I believe the 1100 Prime also will count. That's going to be well over 5 million. So we're looking the 4 to 6 range, something similar to here. So he'll need to get 4th or better in the Prime, or the 25K Alpha 8 that rounds out the series. I imagine that again will probably be in the $5 to $6 million prize pool range. So again, getting 4th or better in the Alpha 8. So any of these 3 Player of the Year events left,
he gets free money if he
should
wins.
He final table them. He will guarantee himself at least 5K, and actually he might guarantee any cash. He will guarantee himself 5K.
How far is he? I'm sorry, how far is he?
He's 50 points behind Afrat. So he just needs a cash in any of these events, and Afrat to brick. Right, Afrat to brick. But that might not be fair, because there might be people behind him that are also close.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true too. Yeah,
there's gonna be a lot of moving parts here.
A lot of moving parts.
Yeah, with 3 big events left.
Yeah,
sure.
A lot of almost. It's funny. Landon made 2 of these final tables this year, and almost everyone in the top 10 was at those 2 final tables, which is pretty interesting. I mean, I guess it makes sense. Right? They were 2 of the biggest events of the year so far. So yeah, the kid's cooking on gas, man.
I think if he final tables the championship, he won't be thinking about, oh man, Player of the Year. He'll be thinking about the 5 million up top.
That is a very fair point you make, Tortoise. These Player of the Year races, they're so much fun for us to talk about as talking heads. Right. They're fun to follow and add a little hype to. And to be honest, the WPT Player of the Year is nowhere near as hyped as WSOP. I couldn't tell you a single person. Well, actually I could, because I could just guess that Altis won it, that Elias has won it, probably multiple times.
I mean, I think winning WPT Player of the Year is actually just to have that on your mantle is more important than the 15K you're going to get.
Sure.
Right? I mean, people always talk about like what's more important, the money or the trophy. But like in this exact situation, like you're not going to care about that extra 15K when you final table the championship as much as you would care about like saying that you're a WPT Player of the Year for the rest of your life.
I guess so. It's I don't know. It's interesting.
Just because the money doesn't matter that much. Now, if it's 150,000 you win or something like that.
Sure. I understand what you're saying. The money and the trophy are worth basically comparable.
Right.
I get it. I totally understand what you're saying. I wish that they would put more emphasis on this. Like, I do think that a lot of these corporations overlook the potential I guess like media attention that stuff like this could garner.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we would pay a little bit closer attention to the tour if the Player of the Year was like, 100K, where it's something super significant, right?
Yeah.
Because now the people that are chasing it become very relevant to the mainstream media. And in this particular instance, it's just like, it just plays out year over year. And like I said, we could assume that Elias and Alti and probably Afrat and a few others that are like, known for being tour crushers, they've probably all won the POY at some point. But like, who gives a shit? It's a buy-in and a half to the championship next year. It's kind of just like, we'd like to see a little more oomph behind it. And same thing with WSOP, right? Like that's actually a very coveted player of the year race, and they don't get shit.
You don't get anything, right?
You get a banner.
You get a banner in the hall.
Banner's kind of cool.
And I think maybe they added something to it recently. Like maybe you get like a main event buy-in or something like that. It's small.
Yeah.
It's certainly nothing important. But yeah, I mean,
and you said like that the money for like the prizes comes out of the prize pool.
I don't know that. I'm not
Would
sure.
that determine whether that's part of the backing deal or not? Because if it's just out of WPT's pocket, then he should just get that money, right? Or not? I don't know.
Yeah.
Or maybe not, because without the backing deal, then he doesn't have the opportunity to win it.
I've never viewed things that way. I know that's the old Johnny Backs methodology of like, well, you got signed to Full Tilt because of me, so like,
give me your rig back.
I'm gonna need a bit of a cut on that.
Because you're gonna find investments somewhere elsewhere, so it doesn't really matter, or your own money.
That's not a very strong argument. If it's not your own money, then any investment you find elsewhere could make the same argument.
But if it did come out of the prize pool, how would you view it?
If it came out of the prize pool, I think that the backer's entitled to it.
Right.
That's what
they're entitled to.
That's what I
agree
think
with
too.
I don't know how they do it. I know WSOP circuits, I believe, take it out of the prize pool.
Mm-hmm.
So like when you win one, you get into the championship, but it's $1,600.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just
if it's not part of the prize pool, it's very easy to be like, wow, this guy just made me a bunch of money as being a backer. He's done really well for me. So you, by all means, have that prize.
Let me tell you something. Nobody makes a bunch of money backing. you either luckily make some money or you get washed.
If they win the player of the year, you probably should do okay.
Yeah.
You're like, you think he's fourth, and I don't know. I don't see where my money is.
Well, from an ROI standpoint, I've done really well with Landon. Right. From an actual dollar standpoint, it's less noticeable because I'm always splitting his backing deal with somebody else, and I'm firing off 6 figures on crossbooks that don't come home. We're still trying.
You'll get that back next year, right?
We're still trying to get even.
Think there's going to be a crossbook next summer?
I don't.
This upcoming summer?
I don't care. I just want to gamble. I know. Bitcoin's up. Let's just fucking flip coins.
All right.
I don't give a shit. All right. Let's round this episode out with an In the Muck. All right, so today's user submission comes from one El Guapito. He kind of came with the caveat of, I would like to understand better how to use the AI tool, as the lookup tool is much easier for him. I didn't even know the lookup tool still existed, to be quite honest. To me, it's like if you have a GTO Wizard subscription and you're still using the lookup tool, like you're wasting your money. All of the benefit comes from being able to utilize the AI. Mm-hmm. You basically have PO at your fingertips that solves in seconds, as opposed to using a dated database.
But some people don't know how to use the AI, Berkey. Could you explain that to us?
We're gonna break it down.
Brian and I lost a lot of brain cells trying to figure it out.
Okay, well we're gonna get you guys out of the muck. So why don't you run us through the sand?
Sounds good. We're playing a little 6 max per usual, 100 NL. I opened 2.2 from the cutoff, and a very tight but aggressive player 3 bets us from the button. He goes really large. I think this is a very large bet. And he may or may not have some bet sizing tells pre-flop, but he goes 11. Our hand is too pretty. We're going to go see a flop. Flop's 9 of diamonds, jack of hearts, 3 of spades. Don't see any reason to lead here, so we will be checking. And our opponent goes pretty big. I could be wrong here. Maybe I'm just saying words, but this feels like a bet that could be smaller. Like he could be betting his whole range here. And I didn't feel like raising here because of his size. Like this just doesn't feel like I have much fold equity. So we just call.
Fold equity.
Yeah, so fold.
You have top kickers, sir.
Yeah, I know, but when he goes real big, I feel like he doesn't want to go.
I mean, you can't get worse to call though. Right?
Yes, you can.
No, I know. I'm saying, but that's a better way to think about it than fold equity.
Yeah, we don't want him to fold.
Right. We get a 4 clubs on the turn.
Okay.
Again, I don't see any reason to lead. We check, and he goes 35 into 53.
Okay.
Again, thought about putting all the money in here, but
Sure.
it just doesn't feel great.
Okay.
Call. And we get the Queen of Spades. This is not a great card. I feel like all of his suited Broadways have now got there that maybe he was bluffing with. You know, the King 10s, the King Queens, the Ace Queens. And he goes for it. He puts his...
I don't think Ace Queen is really much of a consideration. I don't think that hand ever bets turn.
Okay. I think he's
but
bluffing
everything else makes
sometimes here
sense.
with Ace King, though.
Ace on river?
On the like, I'm saying to complete his 3-barrel bluff here. I guess he could have some Ace Kings. It seems reasonable.
I think you're going to see more Ace 5. I don't think Ace King and Ace Queen are going to bet the turn very often. It's pretty hard to get you to call worse or fold better. Like I guess you have like some 9x that would have to release, like some 9-10, but it's a really, really, really small target he's aiming at, especially for the B75 all in for half pot line. I think you're going to see a lot more Ace 5, any 5-6 he might have here. These are going to be utilized 6-7.
Well, it's a good thing we get to use the AI because that's where I had some questions. Anyways, to make a long story short, we end up folding.
Sure.
And a big reason for that is I don't feel like he's going to possess a lot of the hands that you would see from like from a theory standpoint. Like he should have like some King 7, some King 8, some King 9s that he's 3-betting the button with at a low frequency. He should have some of the Fantastic 4. He should have like some Ace 6, Ace 7s, Ace 8 suiteds. But when he uses this size, somebody who I've played with a lot, like they just don't possess those hands. Like I think his range is going to look like what you would expect when someone goes that big on the button. And I think that's where you can help us out, Matt.
Okay, so I mean, I'll speculate what I think is going to happen here pretty quickly, and then we can just like go into how to use the AI a little bit better, how to customize it. I think in theory land, your hand is probably a mix on the river. I wouldn't be surprised if it mixes jam and call on turn as well. Actually, I wouldn't be surprised if it just mostly jams
on the turn.
Because
I think with his bet sizes, I think maybe the machine is going to say be call more.
I disagree.
When Guapo's opening early and then
he's not opening early. He's opening the cutoff.
It was cutoff versus button.
Weren't you under the gun?
No,
yeah.
Cutoff versus button.
But it's a
4-handed
game.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, never mind. I was gonna say because like in like a early formation, and then when the button chooses to 3-bet, they usually 3-bet larger, like he did, right?
Yes.
Because of that.
I think button 3-bet sizes across the board always larger.
Right, because I noticed he said he thought it was too big, but I thought that seemed like that was in line.
No,
I mean I think 10 is standard.
I think standard is going to be like between 7 to like 8.5.
What's a 3-bet size if it's like hijack, low jack, hijack? 5?
Low jack versus hijack?
Yeah.
Like 6, 5.5, 6.
That seems awfully
Isn't that small?
It's a little small, but yeah. But on the button, like 7 is pretty standard. 8.5 starts to get big. 11 is just not something you see.
Yeah, I would think standard 3-bet size would be 7.5, and then button would be 10.
No, too big.
What do you do?
I'm not trying to be combative. I'm just saying, like from what I've seen, like it's just standard that it's like 7 to 7.5.
What's small blind, big blind?
Small blind versus big blind?
Or no, they're 3-bet sizes.
Small blind versus the button?
Sure, yeah.
Like 11, 11.5?
Guapo, are you saying
big blind is like 12.5, 13?
Yeah, that's.
Are you saying what is correct or what
line.
you're seeing is happening in real time?
I think that's what's correct from what I've seen, from what I've studied.
Okay. Well, we can analyze that pretty quickly. Anyway, as played, I think our hand definitely mixes check raise on flop. Having the backdoor spades is really good. Top pair, top kicker is very vulnerable in this texture. You certainly get called by king, queen 10, queen 10, all of these hands that are worse. You put ace, king, ace, queen in a bad spot, though I don't know how much they're... I mean, you could certainly one size this flop for B67 or whatever, and I think
on the turn,
on the flop.
on the flop, his bet seemed kind of big. That seemed like a nice board for him.
You don't like using big bet strategies. That's all.
No, I'm just saying, the board is really nice.
It's a board where you're pretty inelastic. What are you folding? Like, if you have king queen and you're just folding to B67, that's a huge error.
I feel like he should be betting like $5 or $6 here.
Why?
I just feel like his whole range can bet.
Well, of course, his range is supposed to be pretty tight.
So if your whole range can bet here, shouldn't it be a smaller size?
Your whole range could probably bet here for like 50 plus. You don't have that many hands, and the ones that you do have mostly connect here.
So when you range bet, this is the way I understand it. A range bet is small when you have a very, very wide range.
Right.
So when you have a small range, and then you can range bet for bigger. But the small bet for a range size is usually for a wide range.
Right. Wide versus wide, you'll always use small.
Like
but
if you just
tight versus tight.
Yeah. If you just open button, it folds you and you open button and you get that flop, your range bet's going to be small.
And for what it's worth, I'm not even saying that it can necessarily range bet for that size.
Board
but
texture as well. Like, this seems like nice for him. Yes.
Well, it's nice for both of you.
Well,
your auto folds are going to auto fold for all sizes, and you don't have a lot of them. They're only going to be your small pairs and like wheels. So like, he gives 5-4, I guess, a tough not a tough decision. It's just auto folds. Yeah. Where like maybe versus quarter, it sometimes check raises, but like it's still just going to be indifferent between folding and another option. I'm pretty confident when we single size this, it's not going to be small. But anyway, I think you can play check raise here some of the time, check call, whatever. It doesn't really matter. Turn, brick. I think versus his size, we're probably going to be forced to jam because your hand needs protection desperately. You'd rather have king jack or queen jack when playing call, I think.
You don't think it'll be closer to like 50-50 here?
No. I think this is going to be a heavy, heavy, heavy jam.
Okay.
You're pretty close to your top of range. You'll have queens. But again, queens would rather call than jam.
You only have half pot behind as well.
Exactly. Queens would rather trap than ace jack, I think. You're just too susceptible to overcards, and he shouldn't really be fitting a lot of ace king, ace queen into this sizing, I don't think. You might see like ace 10 suited, which you trap because he's dead. But that's kind of it. So that's my general take. Like, when he only has half pot behind, like your 9x isn't just going to pure call and then have a tough decision on the end that you need to protect by having a lot of jack x. Like your 9x is just going to become indifferent probably at this node. And you'll be able to trap with other nutted hands like queens, jacks, nines, hands of that nature. You'll just get to play call. So I think this one's probably just like in the bucket of needing a lot of protection. You might see a hand like, I don't know how much you're trapping kings here, but anyway, that's just my overall take. We'll see what the wizard has to say here. So,
all right, so walk us through this here.
This is the basic way to set up. So I'll show you how I got into this. So first things first, you just go to, like when you open the wizard, you go to the pencil, or sorry, yeah, the pencil's fine. You can go to pre-fill.
Oh, hold on a second. Okay, pre-fill.
Okay, so you go to pre-fill, and now we need to pick the ranges that we're playing. You're playing classic dinosaur poker with 2 blinds, no ante. So we're going to choose the NL 500 rake structure. That's probably going to be closest to your game structure here. We have 6 max set up. I'm going to choose the GTO opening sizes.
Okay.
You guys are like
this
110.
Is where we started. I didn't know why you needed to use this whole box here that you're getting into.
Okay, these are just all the different stack sizes. Right, so you have 200, 150, 100, 75, 50, 40,
Now, if
20.
you wanted to put in our exact stack size, I assume you can do this, yes?
Yeah, we'll be able to do that, but we need to find the ranges that most closely correlate to the actual spot, which I think you guys were like 120
120 effective, yeah.
Yeah, so I would just like lean on the 150 to be safe. I would go the general here to get a little bit more complete, but it doesn't really make that big of a difference. Also, can you resize the window? This is going to get very small very quickly. So in this instance, you are the cutoff that's opening, and you're playing against the button that is a 3-bet pot. So this is where you're choosing the Pre-flop action, squeezes obviously if there's a raise and a call. So if it was like hijack, cut off, big blind, now squeeze is the option we're going to choose. Actually it would be like, yeah, whatever. You just choose the opening position and who is the squeezer. But here we have a 3-bet pot, cut off first button. So we choose 3-bet, confirm. Now this is where you go in and you alter the actual
our villain's perceived range, or at least what I would perceive him to have.
Yeah,
right?
but first, before that, you have to set up the sim. So
Okay.
you need to get things accurate. So to be clear, there is 1.5 big blinds from the pot taken out. So it looks like 8 is the preferred size for the button when 3-betting here.
Yeah. So I was correct then.
Which I'm kind of curious. Yeah.
What did you say, Guapo?
I want to
I
see
was
what
correct.
what the 3-bet size here is like hijack.
Give yourself the check mark.
Who was wrong?
Well, no, I
Guapo?
mean it's not rocket science. It's just I've seen this a lot, and you just don't see 11 from the button.
Guapo,
from the
who was
cutoff.
wrong though?
Anyway,
I'm just wondering, man. That's the question.
That's interesting. I'm surprised that it's not changing its size under the gun versus button. Usually button sizes up in that formation for sure. I wonder if this is an anti-only thing. Anyway, I'll go back to the formation we're looking at. So we have the actual pot size is 22.5. And then the actual stack size going post is
we were 120
112.
effective. So he's got 109 after the flop.
Okay, so 110. You leave the rake on. Obviously, this is a raked environment. I don't know if this rake is correct, where it's capped at 0.6 big blinds or not. 5% capped at 0.6, but seems reasonable. This is just going to change the SPR according to rake. And now whenever you go into your ranges, this is like the theoretical range
From the cutoff.
of what's defaulted for cut.
Okay. Yep.
If you want to paint these, you certainly can. Like if you just,
I mean, I feel pretty confident with my pre-flop game, and I think this is relatively close to what
Right.
I open.
okay. So then if you want to alter what you think he's 3-betting,
So yeah, so I'll let you kind of go for it here, but keep in mind, tight aggressive, and he went really big, and he may or may not have some tells pre-flop as far as what sizes he uses.
well,
like
yeah, I
see,
mean,
there's the king, like all these king 5s through like king 9 suited. Like in my opinion, he does not have these in range. The queen 8s, these suited gappers, not in range.
okay.
If we want to be kind, we can leave him with the Fantastic 4, but like these ace 6 through ace 9 suited, let's leave him ace 9 suited for sure. But I think this is more realistic to what he may have. That suited 10-8 suited gapper, not there. And I think this is a little bit more realistic.
Yeah, I mean, I have no idea. I don't know how random online fish are carving out their
He's
range.
definitely not a fish. He's actually a good player, just, he doesn't get super out of line.
Well, I don't know what that means because this is out of line.
This is out of line as far as like what hands we're taking away from him?
Well, of course, if like you're disobeying your incentives, then you're getting out of line.
Right, Burke. I think
No.
he's not that wide. So like he's tighter. When you say out of line, that sounds like
It's
he's
wider than theory.
Wider than
so
theory.
it's verbiage
yeah.
that we're talking about.
Yeah,
here.
yeah, exactly.
My apologies.
No, that's fine. But you're just saying that he's just tighter pre-flop than what theory would be, but still probably as loose, if not looser, than your average player.
Sure.
That right?
Yeah, it's just, look, when he uses this size pre-flop, he's condensed to stronger hands.
Yeah, I mean, I think you need to have a pretty good idea of like what that range looks like if you're going to paint.
Yeah.
I mean, we can make estimates, and this is seemingly okay. We just made him like, 5% tighter or whatever. From here, like now, if you want to set up the rest of the sim, I like to use dynamic so I can use multiple bets, but let's just go to automatic since we only want to look at a one size strategy anyway.
So when you hit automatic here, the solver is going to show us only one size being the best size.
It's going to choose from a matrix of sizes that the AI defaults to. So it's quarter pot, 40% pot, 75%. Sorry, quarter pot, 40% pot, 67% pot. 50 might be in there. I can't recall off the top of my head. 2E, 3E, full pot. 2E, 3 is all the overbet sizings. There might be some other intermediate sizes that I'm missing. Like 10% pot might be used some of the time.
Okay, so in
whatever.
other words,
But
all
anyway,
the major betting sizes.
it takes the entire spectrum of betting sizes
So
and
if I wanted
compares
to
them.
study a one size flop,
Use automatic.
I would use automatic.
Yeah, if you want to use a two sizing strategy, you go to dynamic.
Okay.
And you can also specify specific sizes. So like I know a lot of my friends don't like to use the quarter 40 sizing scheme, which I greatly prefer. They would prefer to use like third half. So you can actually compare those here. You can just add them in.
Okay.
I don't really like to fuck with that too much. I think that the AI does a pretty good job of picking all the major sizes along the spectrum and utilizing them. And I also like to defer to E sizes a lot anyway. So this works well for me. You can also do fixed where you just enter the sizes. This is the old way, similar to PO, where you actually have to create your own sizing scheme. The problem with that is like you don't get to learn very much as far as like testing sizings against one another. So I don't personally like this option at all. I think it's like the least effective when it comes to discovering much, if anything, because like the EV of sizings are always going to run relatively close. Like it really just strategy often just boils down to did you bet or not.
Mm-hmm.
And then it comes down to like the way that you win and lose EV is like, did you put enough chips in the pot or not with the strength of your hand? But even then you'll often like gain a little bit of EV one way or the other at the top or the bottom based off of the sizing that you might have like quote unquote missed. I think we're cropped out on the window.
I was just zoomed in so you could see all the stuff that you were doing.
So you can do this for every street. I just apply the same to flop, turn, and river. You want to make sure that you have your all-in threshold set. So like 5x pot usually will indicate when all-in becomes a viable option, or you can, if you're in dynamic, you can always add all-in if you prefer to go that route. These aren't really important. You can just use the defaults. There's really no reason to add anything else. And if you think that you have like specific knowledge of your opponent, you can change his strategies. So like if you think he uses a two sizing strategy on the flop where like we saw him B67, like, oh, well, maybe he has like quarter and 67. We can go dynamic and give him two sizes. And we can change turns and rivers. Like oftentimes you're going to have a multi-size strategy on rivers. So like, I might want to turn this off and go dynamic on river and offer two sizing strat for you. Though in this instance, it's not going to matter because you're not really going to be playing donk in any of these spots.
I like that automatic feature.
And the SPR doesn't really get low enough
because I kind of want to learn how to do a one bet sizing strategy, so that seems cool.
Yeah. I think learning a simplified strategy first is always best. On the later streets, though, I think it's really important to be able to comprehend a multi-size strategy.
So you hit create a solution there on the end, right?
Yeah. Then the next step is to change the flop. So in this instance, we had
Jack of hearts, 9 of diamonds, 3 of spades.
9-3. Of course, you're right. You're not going to play any leads. So the SPR here is just shy of 5. Actually, it's almost 5 exactly. So yeah, you're not going to play any leads. You're right. It does simplify to
you gotta uncrop now.
Sorry. Give me 1 second, guys.
So your instinct was right that you get the range bet for quarter here whenever you simplify to a single size strat. If we do go back into this and we give him the ability to have a double size strategy, we can see if the B67 that he chose makes its way in there or not. My instinct is that it'll use split sizing, and his big size is probably going to be good. Yeah, so that now works its way in. You can see 17% of the time here, it's going to choose the big size. It's still a range bet, so like obviously this board is very favorable. And there's just like a lot of the range that can be cropped out to choose.
So a
67.
majority of the time he's using the smaller. He should be using the smaller size. Is that correct?
Sort of. The way to view this is not specific to the ratio here. Like it's not like, I mean, yeah, that's a fine way to look at it. Like, okay, like 4 out of 5 times he's going to bet the small size. But I think the better thing to interpret from this is that you're always going to face a bet and that you can face the large size. Because what ends up happening is the large size is a specific range. So since he's range betting, all hands bet, right? But not all hands choose the large size. That's the more important takeaway here, is that when he chooses the 67, it's a certain subset of range. And that's the only thing that you need to be studied in moving forward. It's not, unless he's making an error, it's not a range bet for 67, right? So it's not like you can't. The reason why I'm pointing this out and like kind of correcting what you're saying of like, oh, he should mostly be choosing the small size, is because that implies that when you see the large size, it signals some sort of misstep, right? But it actually just signals that he's in a certain portion of his range. That's the takeaway, right?
I understand what you're saying.
So yeah, like when we face this larger size, we should recognize that it's going to be a little bit more concentrated to certain groupings of hands. You could see that the wheel hands, as I kind of prefaced before, are going to prioritize the size. Value-wise, it's going to be the overpairs. The ace king, ace queens get in there a little bit more than I suspected they would. It looks like with ace queen especially, it prioritizes backdoors. So it prioritizes spades and hearts, where diamonds and clubs aren't really ever chosen. I imagine diamonds aren't chosen because specifically of the 9. Like I imagine it wants you to have does it want you to have ace 9 when it bets? Yeah. When it's bluffing, it probably wants you to have ace 9 over multiple streets, although it makes the ace less clean. But in any event, like, yeah, like as we said, coming through the big size, your 9s are going to be the first thing to become relatively indifferent moving forward. And then obviously all the Broadway hands, right? Because they interact so heavily. King Queen interacts here, Queen Jack, Jack, like all the Jack X, the Queen 10s, the Jack 9 for 2 pairs. It wants to put a bunch of money in the middle. Interestingly enough,
so I was sort of half right that he's kind of going for it with ace king and ace queen, right?
Yeah, it's some frequency, right? Like you can see it's mostly a small bet.
Yeah.
Like of all the candidates that are quote unquote nothing, the suited variety at least is used the least, but the offsuit variety does come in here a fair chunk. The ace king, ace queen offs. Ace 10, as I kind of suspected, is the much higher frequency one when choosing backdoor hands, and then the ace wheels, because these bluff very naturally, right? Like on a turn queen, ace queen doesn't really feel super comfortable about playing for stacks. It will, but there are better hands in range. Whereas like on a turn queen, ace 10 can just rifle it off. On a turn low card, these hands can all just rifle it off. On turn backdoor flush cards, these hands can all rifle it off. It's just, you choose your lower equity hands in these particular spots whenever you're trying to carve out a range that goes both big and small. So when he chooses 67, your response here with ace jack, as we kind of suspected, it'll raise some of the time. Looks like about a third, maybe a little bit more of the time. Ace jack of spades, it's the prioritized candidate that you're going to be going for it with. Second best will be, I assume, diamonds. Yeah. And then last will be clubs. So yeah, we're going to play a little bit of check raise here with ace jack. You can see ace queen, offsuit, pure fold. Ace queen with a backdoor is raising really, really, really often. Where
I wouldn't have found that one.
Yeah, it's really important to find. You block queens and aces. You want to deny equity to ace king. Albeit it's a small size, but it's a small size to set up jams on turn. You also want to be able to raise queens for value. So I was wrong. I said like queens would be the hand that we potentially protected with moving forward, but this hand just basically tries to get it in on the flop. And that kind of speaks to...
My hand in particular?
Well, your hand, yes, but more so queens. Your hand is like a balancing mechanism with queens, right? So ace, jack, king, queen, and queens are all playing very, very, very heavy raise strategy, as is nines. Nines unblocks all the overpairs and jacks, or sorry, jack X, where jacks plays a lot more trap. Tens has to continue at some frequency as well. It's just too good. It's the best hand quite often. Threes, pure raise, wants to get all the money in now. And this is also a byproduct of how small we're going. We're just trying to set up like a 2E strategy, I imagine, moving forward. And then a lot of the other backdoor stuff, just pure folds. So like ace 10, doesn't matter if it has a backdoor or not, pure fold. Same thing with the wheel aces, 5-4 suited. And I imagine like if we go back to quarter pot, these hands might start to mix. Yeah. So as I suspected, like these hands now start to mix fold and raise dependent upon their backdoor.
Can I see if my ace jack gets more? Yeah, it gets more spicy.
Well, less.
No, it gets more spicy.
It gets more, but of all of the ace jack candidates, it's now not the preferred one, right? Diamonds gets way higher priority. Diamonds before was only raising like 15% of the time, but now it's like 75% of the time. And I imagine this is just a byproduct of like the hands that get fit into the smaller size at a higher frequency. Like you're just able to extract more value. But anyway, that's very nuanced and not all that important. The important thing here is that you raise often versus even the big size. You just like force all in. And it's built around your sets. It's built around hands that need protection like top pair. It's built around bluffs like 8-7, which are gut shot to the ass end, but you're trying to, apply a lot of pressure to like king, queen offsuit that can't really peel at a very high frequency, or at least can't peel twice. A lot of your 10x is in the mix because it wraps the 9 and the jack. And then of course your value hands like jack 9 in your sets and things like that. So very reasonable that this hand plays call. You can see the majority strategy is call, but it does need to mix raise at some frequency. Turn offsuit 8? No.
Memento, 4 clubs.
4 clubs, okay. Offsuit 4. Again, no leads, I'm sure. Yeah, that's just solver noise. So let's just make sure that gets out of there. When you see like these 0.1%, you should just eliminate.
Just get rid of them?
Yeah, because it might alter the decision by the button a little bit, and you don't want it to because you're never ever leading 0.1% of the time.
Okay,
right.
I got you.
What if you roll for it?
God bless. If you have fractional rolls, like fuck you. So you can see his size is the only one preferred. B67 is the follow through. And I was wrong. It is going for it with ace queen and ace king here.
Yeah. Okay.
Which I was surprised by. I thought it would be more the wheels. You can see the 3 lays off, and that makes sense because it's a pair now. Same with the 4. So I understand why these two aren't betting any longer. The ace 5, I would have expected this to be much closer to pure. I'm a little surprised that it's kind of like mixing based on suits. So like ace 5 of diamonds is almost pure. Ace 5 of clubs is very high frequency, but the other two are almost pure checks. And I'm really surprised ace deuce doesn't go for it here. I'm not really sure what specifically is preventing it. It's not like you have any real 5x in your calling range. Like if we go back here, like 6-5 folds 5s, 5-4, ace 5, all these hands fold. All the 6x's fold, with the exception of like a little bit of peeling out of 6-6, which would now just fold anyway. So I'm a little bit surprised the ace deuce doesn't go for it here. I don't really know what else it helps with in range. I guess it gives you a little bit of coverage on a river 5 that you wouldn't otherwise had. But yeah, all the value just like needs to front load the money. So like jack 10 is kind of the point of indifference where it's like, this hand isn't really quite strong enough. It's going to start to favor check depending upon suits. And then king jack, kind of the same idea. It dominates a lot of the hands that would apply pressure to. So it dominates your king queen. It dominates a lot of your jack X that might not be super comfortable, and it dominates like all of your 9x. So It dominates your king 9. You're already like any jack 9 that you have, he would have heard from on the flop. And like, you know, the 9-10 type of hands that it applies a lot of pressure to are just going to fold river anyway. So the king 10, queen 10 actually aren't bluffing here. Neither is the ace 10. And for all of those reasons, like the queen river now becomes a lot more clean. Albeit he has stronger queen X in there, like ace queen, king queen. I do still think like if your hand plays call, which based off of the betting range here, I think it's still going to be mixing jam at a pretty high frequency. But when it does play call, I imagine it just has to call off on river. But maybe it becomes indifferent. The queen is pretty bad. So yeah, ace jack, depending upon suits, is going to be jamming anywhere from very little, which is the ace jack of clubs. And I think that's because you block a lot of the bluffs. If we go back and look, the wheel aces that like to double here are mostly the club variety. Diamonds are getting much closer to a 50-50 mix of jam and call. And then spades, it looks like it's about 40%, maybe 35% jam versus call. King, queen, mostly folding. So that size is going to apply a lot of pressure there. Same thing with ace, king, ace, queen. These hands are all getting cleaned up. Even king 10, queen 10, these draws mostly have to fold. They don't really have a path to winning through call. They do mix in call a little bit with the heart diamond variety, but spades are either playing jam or fold. You know, and I kind of suspected that your 9x might become indifferent at this node, but that's not correct. And I imagine that's largely because these draws are folding. So you kind of need things to call with. Your 8-7s folding, your pocket pairs. So you're calling about half your range, jamming about 10%, folding about 40%. And it's just all very intuitive, you know, like you have to jam some bluffs. So like king queen gets in there just a tiny bit. Queen 10 gets in there a tiny bit. Jack 10 is more of what I was saying about ace jack, where it has to jam for protection's sake. And this makes sense to me now that I realize that the queen 10, king 10, ace 10 are no longer betting turn, but the ace queen, ace king are. Now ace jack doesn't need as much protection because those overcards aren't betting any longer. Whereas jack 10 needs a ton of protection because the 2 overs are betting and the 10x bluffs, so to speak, that it blocks are no longer bluffing, right? So, you know, in practice, jack 10 becomes a much better jam than ace jack. Or sorry, in theory, jack 10 becomes a much better jam than ace jack. But in practice, it might be the opposite. Because I would suppose a lot of people just double barrel queen 10 here. A lot of people just double barrel king 10 here. But if you already have the impression that like he's tighter, king 10 and queen 10 might not exist as much anyway. So better to play theory than to play practically, I would think, because they're going to be much closer in alignment. So jam the jack 10, call the ace jack. All of that seems pretty reasonable. Now what happens on a river queen, based off of what we're getting to the river with, based off of what we're getting to the river with, where only really queen jack and jacks are 2-pair plus holdings, I guess some jack 9 delays. I think ace jack is going to call here an awful lot, if not always. And the 9x is going to be where we start to fold.
Was I correct in identifying there on the river that the queen is just the queen in general is just not great? Because a lot of his bluffs like get there now.
They don't, though, right? Just king queen and ace queen, and like you can see how low frequency
well, I mean,
these are.
queen 10's beating me now too, right?
It doesn't bluff.
It checks, remember?
Oh, that's right.
Pure check. King 10, pure check. So those hands don't exist. And because those hands don't exist, ace queen can't even pure jam, right? Like ace queen actually checks. Ace queen suited checks at pure frequency, where ace jack actually jams because it's only one combo and it unblocks your calls. So it unblocks the king jack call, which ace jack jamming tells me that ace jack for you can never fold. King jack probably calls at a really high frequency, if I had to guess. So yeah, when we look at this, yeah, ace jack relatively indifferent, but it's suit based. So the club variety is the only one folding. Same thing with king jack. As I kind of mentioned, like ace jack unblocks the king jack calls. You can see only king jack of diamonds has any level of indifference to it. Everything else is a pure call. Queen jack jacks, obviously pure calls. Any jack 10 that's gotten this far, pure call.
What was ace jack? I didn't get a chance to see
It's
it.
pure call based off of suits, where ace jack of clubs is going to be the indifferent one, but like it can just lean pure fold.
Gotcha.
Reason being is that the clubs block his bluffs. And yeah, as kind of stated, like the 9x is where we become indifferent, right? This is really the point where his bluff starts to function. If he's jamming a hand like ace king, which I believe he was, ace king's nearly a pure jam, dependent upon suits. Because of that, like now the 9x becomes indifferent, specifically like the ace 9 of hearts. I imagine that this unblocks his bluffs. Same thing with like the king 9 of spade and hearts. This probably unblocks like a lot of the ace kings that can jam, so they're going to call a little bit more often. The 9-8 here, specifically clubs, this is probably unblocking like the ace 9 of club jam, or maybe the ace 8 of club jam. I don't know if that's in there or not. Oh no, those hands don't exist. So 9x of clubs. Yeah, so it's blocking jack 9, which is part of the value.
It's funny because it seems like it would be hard, and
it's unblocking the 8-7. Good.
And I think Guapo would agree with me that like in a 3-bet pot to just go check call with second pair.
But you're only facing half pot.
I understand, but I just think that like a lot of people would find a fold there at some point, maybe on the turn, even though
with a 9,
even though it calls pure.
I mean, you just can't.
I'm not saying, you know.
Yeah, I understand. I understand the point that you're trying to make, but it's just like you're just giving too much credibility to the sizing or to your.
I just think this is where an overfold takes place a lot.
Yeah, you're right. But people who overfold there are giving way.
They're giving too much credit
weight
to a perceived range that they think the other person has.
Yeah, they're giving too much weight to their ability to be clairvoyant.
Yeah.
Right.
And just say like, oh, I don't have to call this high equity hand because they just only have it beat.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, that just leaves you very susceptible to getting exploited on future streets. And also, like you said, overfolding this particular node.
Right.
So yeah, like facing a half pot, you just have to do a lot of calling. You call 60% of range. You can see this range is incredibly tight. The folds are really intuitive. If you folded all of your single paired 9x, I mean, you get torched a little bit at the 10-9 level, but otherwise you'd be fine, right? Because you just have enough other stuff to call. If you like pure folded 10-9 and pure called ace-jack, you'd probably just be doing fine. As far as like not getting exploited from a frequency standpoint, you might be torching a little bit of EV just because not all ace-jacks are created equal in this particular spot. But, you know, it's a hard situation to get to. Like, you have to be very patient with some of your value. You know, kind of like I said earlier, the easy way of playing this spot is to just find check raises
on the turn,
kind of early in the hand.
Yeah.
Even less so check jamming turn.
Do you think his biggest mistake was folding the river, or was it not finding a check raise earlier?
100% it's folding the river.
Right, yeah. Just because that
but it can be
that was it's pure. And yeah.
But it can be a byproduct of the approach to the earlier streets. And Guapo kind of said he would never consider check raising his hand. It's like, well, that becomes problematic.
Right.
Because that means that you always have ace jack of spades on the end and you're folding it. Like, it's a hand that can already never fold, but if you have it twice as often, it becomes a much bigger torch because now your range is contorted in a way where it's like, if you're not ever considering a check raise on the flop or turn with this hand and you take full candidates to the river, it also means there's other portions of your range that you're not considering strategy for, which like your 9x, for example.
Yeah,
exactly. So maybe less 9x now makes it to the river, which means that
you have to call more often.
Your call frequency. Well, it's not that you have to. It's just that your natural calling frequency goes way up. So his bluff is way less functional, right? And this is where there's like convergence, where if the in-position player knows Guapo's strategy and knows that like he sheds a 9 too often early and never check raises ace-jack and all these other things, well, now maybe he has no bluffs on the end because Guapo's hands that get there call. It means that like he only folds like 20% of the time, right? And that's really problematic if you're trying to run a bluff for half pot.
Right.
You need him to be folding, you know, somewhere in the neighborhood of like, I think like 25, 30% of the time, something like that to break even, right? So this is where the practicality of speculation on what ranges morph into, this is where the exploitation takes place. The more accurate you are in being able to understand how these lines work and where people fail, the more you'll be able to make exploitative folds like Guapo just made correctly. Right? There's a difference between making an exploitative fold and making an exploitative fold correctly.
Right.
Like at a relatively high frequency. And without a database or a large sample or a HUD on this guy, I think it's pretty impossible to make those assumptions. But yeah, that's your.
But at least we have an ability now to use those assumptions to create a range and to walk us through this process.
The best way to use this exercise, in my opinion, is to run it unchanged first, see what the general global strategy looks like, then run it to each extreme. Like, what does it look like if he's super nutted, where he only has jacks plus and ace 5, and then what does it look like if he's 5% wider than theory and actually has like full combos of these Broadway hands that are supposed to be in there half the time, that type of stuff. What you'll see is like there's ways to make money on the fringes based off of taking pure actions whenever you're at either extreme. But your ability to be confident that he's gravitating towards either one of those extremes is really going to be what allows you to make money. And that's why a lot of younger generations don't want to play that guessing game. The kind of like Polk fraction of the early wave of theory minds and what that's morphed into. Even like Landon, when we first met him, where it's just very rigid to the global strategy, they don't want to deviate because they don't have any faith in their ability to guess that he's one way or the other. But like when you play live, you kind of just get to be able to know, right? But when you're playing online without HUD stats, it's impossible to know. And I understand why they don't want to really deviate, because I wouldn't either. I think it's safe not to. All right, if you guys would like to have one of your hands broken down in an In the Muck segment, head over to our Discord channel, #Discord in the chat, or follow us at onlyfriends_pod. It's the pinned tweet. You can follow that link. We have an entire community dedicated to poker conversation, chat, strategy, all those things, and then a particular forum where you can submit your own In the Muck hands. Hopefully that's going to get Guapo and Tortoise out of the muck.
That's right.
We're going to have them running AI scripts. Not scripts. They don't have the ability to script yet, but soon, perhaps.
Soon. Yeah. In the lab.
Yeah, we're going to have you guys running a little AI. We're going to get you out in the mix. We lost Conrad.
It's okay.
He dipped. He's actually here.
I mean, listen, man, I got shit to do. I got to go play. I ain't got time to do shit after. I had to run some errands. I got to do some shit, B.
Who do you call him B?
Oh, nigga, relax.
I think he enjoys making us uncomfortable when he does that.
I'm not uncomfortable.
Berkey's definitely, you're the only person that's uncomfortable.
I just got street cred. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm comfortable. Got my pass. All right, that's going to do it for us. We're going to wrap things up tomorrow, noon Pacific. As always, we'll be getting into our Weekend Warrior picks, where it's getting tight. Not a big gap between the top and the bottom.
This is where there's a gap.
Wow, Tortoise.
Listen, there's a gap.
Oh, I got to pick a
But
pick.
the Tortoise is going to make his run.
What's the day of the week?
Today's Thursday.
Thursday?
All right, so I got to put a pick in.
Okay, yeah.
All right, cool.
We're going to talk about it tomorrow. Do you listen to a fucking word I say?
No, that's how we're still friends.
God damn it. We'll be back tomorrow, noon Pacific. Be sure to join us then. We'll see you guys all.
Peace.
Later, squad.
Peace.